everything we use. Your phone, the car you drive, the food you eat, it all starts somewhere. Well, it starts with resources. And in this explainer, we're going to dig into the absolutely crucial link between those resources and, well, how our entire world develops.
So, let me ask you a question. When you think of nature, do you picture this sort of endless buffet of resources? Water, minerals, land, all just sitting there waiting for us to take them, like a free gift. A lot of us do. But is it really that simple?
Yeah, the truth is, our relationship with the planet's resources is way more complex and honestly, way more interesting than that simple idea. So let's break it down.
Okay, here's our game plan. First, we're going to challenge our basic idea of what a resource even is. Then we'll dive into the free gift problem and why that mindset is so dangerous. From there, we'll explore the global push for a more sustainable future, get our hands dirty with a real-world look at land and soil, and finally, we'll talk about the future, a future that isn't written yet.
All right, let's start with the basics. What is a resource? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer goes way beyond just the stuff we dig out of the ground. For something to truly be called a resource, it has to pass a three-part test. Number one, is it technologically accessible? Can we actually get to it with the tech we have now? Number two, is it economically feasible? Does it make any financial sense to extract it? And number three, is it culturally acceptable? Is our society okay with using it? If the answer to any of those is no, then it's not really a resource yet.
And this leads to a huge shift in how we think about this. Resources aren't just found, they are created. They're a function of human activity. It's us, people, interacting with nature, using our technology and building institutions to transform raw materials into things that we actually need. It's a dynamic, interactive process.
So, what happens when we ignore all that and just treat everything like a free gift? Well, we run smack into the free gift problem. And believe me, it's a flawed idea with a very, very high cost.
When we use resources without thinking, three huge problems pop up. First, we see them get depleted incredibly fast, mostly to satisfy the greed of just a few people. Second, those resources get hoarded by a small group, which divides society into the haves and the have-nots. And third, it triggers these massive global ecological crises. We're talking global warming, pollution, land degradation, the whole shebang.
This isn't just a logistics problem, it's a moral one. Gandhiji framed it perfectly. He said, "There's enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed." He argued that the real root of the problem wasn't the lack of resources, but human greed combined with technology that let us exploit things on a massive scale. So if the problem is just reckless use, then the solution has to be careful planning. And this has led to a really powerful global idea: sustainable development. Sustainable development is a beautifully simple but really profound concept. It means we should develop our world to meet our needs right now, but not in a way that trashes the environment or stops future generations from being able to meet their own needs. It's all about finding that balance.
And this idea didn't just appear overnight. Nope, it's been building for decades. You can see the story here, from the early calls for conservation back in the late 60s to a formal definition in the 80s, all the way to a global action plan at the Rio Earth Summit in 1992. It was a slow but steady change in how the world thinks. So how does the whole country actually do this? It's a massive job, but it boils down to three key steps. First, you've got to take stock, figure out what you have and where it is. Then, you build the framework to actually use those resources wisely. And finally, you have to make sure your resource strategy actually lines up with your bigger national goals. Okay,
To make all this feel a little less abstract, let's zoom in on the ground realities of two of our most vital resources, land and soil, and we'll use India as a case study.
Just look at the diversity of India's land. You've got these huge plains, making up 43%, perfect for farming and building cities. You have towering mountains, about 30%, which are the source of major rivers. And then you have plateaus, 27%, that are just loaded with valuable minerals. Each of these requires a totally different playbook for how to manage it.
But here's the thing. Human activities have caused some serious land degradation. This slide draws a really clear line between cause and effect. In states like Jharkhand, it's deforestation from mining. In places like Gujarat, overgrazing is the main issue. And in the agricultural powerhouses like Punjab, it's actually over-irrigation that's doing the damage.
And this degradation directly hammers our soil. It's so easy to think of soil as just dirt, but it is a living system. And get this, it can take millions of years to form just a few centimeters of topsoil. That makes it pretty much non-renewable in our lifetime.
And India's soils are just as diverse as its land. You've got the unbelievably fertile alluvial soil in the northern plains. That's the breadbasket for crops like wheat and sugarcane. Then you have black soil in the Deccan Plateau, which is amazing at holding moisture and is perfect for growing cotton. Different soils, different strengths, different uses.
All of this information leads us to our final section, an unwritten future. The future of our resources. It all depends on conservation and the choices we make today.
The good news is we have proven ways to fix this. Simple, clever techniques like plowing along the land's natural curves instead of against them, or cutting terraces into hillsides, or planting strips of grass or trees to break the force of the wind. These things can make a huge difference.
You know, ultimately, this all comes down to a sense of responsibility. We're just temporary custodians of this planet. We inherited it from the past, and we have a duty to pass it on in good shape to the future. It's a shared responsibility that stretches across every generation. So, I'll leave you with a question to chew on. Just imagine for a second that the world's oil supply ran out tomorrow. How would that change your life? Your commute, the food in your fridge, almost every single product you own. It's a stark reminder of just how vital and, how fragile our relationship with these resources really is. Thanks for joining me for this one.